Hello modding community, my name is Ali Abbas, codename Alan Lee, and I'd like to show you my new project called Armageddon, the sum of all fears. As we all know, in 2012 the world was supposed to come to an end, and that's when I actually started this project. It's called Armageddon. I've been building since about 4 years now, and it's finally complete. It was at the Disassembly this year, and it managed to win 3 trophies, which I'm very happy about, 2 gold and 1 silver. And it's supposed to look, it's a desk of course, but it's supposed to look as if it's been stuck in Arctic snow for the last 10 million years. That's why I give it a very rusty, hard metallic look, even though if you see the workload you'll see that it's made out of wood. I'll show you some close-ups and some pictures afterwards, and then you'll see I use sand in the paint job, and I fingered a lot in here as well, so that has silver edges, so that it really looks as if it's got that worn-torn, weather-beaten look, and it's been sitting in the snow for a long time. Armageddon, the sum of all fears. You have before Armageddon, you have after Armageddon. Armageddon itself is the desk as you see it, but then when you flip a couple of switches, then it turns into the monster which I wanted to create. These legs can be folded inside. I have to take the hardware off the back, the hardware plate which has got the computer itself, but they fold in, they fold around the subwoofer underneath here, and then this whole thing can flap down, and then I can actually get it through any door, which I also did when I went to the Disassembly at the Gamescom. But just with a couple of switches and all the electronics which I put inside it, I can turn it into a fully functional computer with one wire, and it's got everything that you need. It's got the mouse pad here in the front, it's got the keyboard inside here, it's got 2 monitors inside here, it's got the camera, and now I'm going to flip some switches so that you see how it actually works. First of all, of course, we need a keyboard and we need 2 monitors. So for this, I've got the monitors here. So while that's running up, I'll show you a couple of other features. I've got a camera here, a webcam, which has a slide possibility, or a dolly if you like, which goes left and right about 60-70 centimeters. I can tilt it up and down by this switch here. This one in the front, so if you're leaning back on a chair, then you can actually tilt the monitor and tilt the camera. And then to drive it left and right, I've got this switch here. And then as you can see, you can place it whether you're going to do your Skype left or you're going to do it on the right hand side. Then you can adequately position it wherever you need it. So, and at the same time, of course, you can tilt it as well. So as you can see, it's moving now. So that was one little feature which I wanted to have, and I managed to get it in. Motorized with a video recorder ejector button motor. And these 2 decorations here look as if they're decorations, but I can actually slide them out like this. And then I've got a secret switch, and then I have reading lamps. Or of course for the keyboard, which I'll now bring out. The keyboard is here. It was flush with the desk, but that's why I have this bay here as well, which looks good, and it's got an analog, the time will go analog after digital Armageddon. That's why I have an analog clock here. If I don't need the keyboard and I'm just playing with the mouse or a joystick or something like that, then I can just slide it back in. Yeah, when it's in, then it's all pretty hard, so you could actually put force on it and pressure on it, and you can work here. So then I was at the scrapyard, and I found some very nice parts which I've integrated into the build here as well. One of them would be this video recorder, an old video recorder cassette tray. So inside here, I've got a button here in the front. It's mechanical, there's a rod going inside here. When I press that button, then it pops out, just like the old video recorder. And I've got 7 USBs here. One of the LEDs seems to have conked out, but otherwise I've got 7 times USB 3, so I've got plenty of connections here if I want to plug anything in. Yeah, and I just have to slap it back down, and it mechanically fits into place, and then you can't see it. Unfortunately, at the scrapyard, you can't, it's not a candy store, so I could only find 1 video recorder. But I made the other side adjacent and equivalent to that side as well. Couldn't find a second video recorder, so what I did was I made a plate and I made a little cavity inside, and I can actually put this in like this, and then I have a tablet holder. I put my tablet here, and standing up like that, and it's got a couple of connections where I can power it as well if I want to charge it, or if I want to put my cell phone inside there and hide it when I'm at an exhibition or something like that. Here I've got 4 potentiometers for the fans, which are in the back, which I'll come to soon. Here I've got the sound control here, HDD controller. They're both black actually, only when they're actually working then they start blinking. Reset button and power on. What else I got? Yeah, then I've got an all-off switch if I'm at an exhibition or something, and you never know, you might want to leave the booth for a second. Then I can all off everything here. As soon as I've done that, then nothing will work. Nobody can play around with the keyboard switch or with the monitor switch. So that was a big help with the DCMM. Otherwise, I like that. I could actually leave them both open, flip the switch with this key, and then nobody can do anything with them either. So what else have I got? Oh yeah, here in the front, I've got my headset holder, also with a connection here. I got a headset here. I'll be thanking all my sponsors afterwards, but now acutely I've got this one. This is Thermaltake. Thank you for all the parts. It's a fully thermally taken case here, and I got a headset from Thermaltake as well. Now, when I put that in like this, and I plug it in, of course, then the loudspeakers you just heard, it just registered and the loudspeakers are mute. So if I don't want that, and I take the plug out, then of course I don't want it to fall on the floor. Now that would be a catastrophe. That would be a third Armageddon, wouldn't it? We don't want that. So I put a little magnet here, and it just sticks to that so that this doesn't fall around, you know, get kicked around on the floor. So, and if I don't need that, it's magnetic. It flips in so that when the table actually flaps down when I'm transporting it, so that nothing happens to that. So I'll put that in here again. Then on the other side, of course, what would we gamers be, even though I'm not really a gamer? I'm too busy building machines which the gamers want. But what would we be without our energy drink holder? I don't have a Red Bull or anything at the moment here, but that's pretty much the same size. It's got that size, and for the wider Cokes and things, it's got a bigger one as well. So at that side we've got our drink holder, very handy, on the right hand side. Alright, now let's take a couple of close-ups here, and then, or actually I could start some music and then you can see what happens. So you all know it. It's got a subwoofer. I'm going to put the remote. The subwoofer, I have a sound control unit inside here as well. It's all wired up, and it's got about, I think, 150 LEDs, the whole case all the way around it. And they're sound controlled as well. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start the music. And now I'm playing to the music, of course. The monitors are motorized with a linear motor, which I managed to salvage from an old hospital bed. So it takes about 40-45 seconds for them to go down. With an old Windows system with motorized hard disks, then Windows would not have been there when the monitor was actually elevated. But in this case, we're using SSDs from Angelbird. Thank you very much, Angelbird, for powering this thing with 4 SSDs. Thank you Asus for the motherboard and for the graphic card. Thank you Thermaltake for all the water cooling parts. Who else we got? Thank you Enemax for the fan and the USB ports in the back, and for fans and the other things as well. Thank you Mundeng Edigi Concepted. Thank you Mama that you always believed in me, and all that Hollywood shit as well. Anyway, so now let's pick back up. Now we'll move around to the back. We're going to press pause, go around to the back, so that you can see where the actual computer is sitting. Alright guys, now while the monitors are elevating, I'll come around to the back and I'll show you the actual computer part of it all. Here we've got the sum of all fears. That was the Armageddon, and this is the sum of all fears. In other words, that's where I put all the hardware in. Of course, I wanted to make it transportable, so I want to take this whole part off, which is possible, which I'll come to in a minute. Inside here, I wire it all up and I power it with one single cable. Everything is just with one cable. Here I've got the 960 GTX. Thank you, Asus, for that. It's dormant at the moment because the computer's not really doing much. Whoops. Here I've got the RIING, the ring fans from thermal take. We've got 3 big 140s here, and we've got here on the radiator for the water cooling, which is cooling the CPU on the Asus motherboard. We've got a 120er and a 120er here as well. What else we got? What else we got? Yeah, this is magnetic. It can just be taken off like that. And I just unhook the wires and then I can take it off. At the moment it's wired up, so I'll leave it. And this one we have here NMX, a USB port and a power line and a card reader. We've got a temperature gauge here, which is showing me the temperature of actually behind the motherboard, just near to the CPU. We got the Dominator RAMs inside here. Here you can see the thermal take reservoir, how it's bubbling away. I'm only cooling the CPU itself, or the processor. Okay, in Germany they always say CPU, which is actually the whole computer, of course. This whole part I can take off, so I have to go into the middle now, and I'll take it off so that you can see what I mean. If I want to work on the computer, I shouldn't have to be, you know, using screws and a screwdriver or anything. I've just got these 2 knobs, which I have to turn. One on this side, and then one on this side. And then I got these chains here. I can adjust the chains depending on how far I want to go out. At the moment that's pretty good. And so this whole rig is actually just lying inside there. I can take it off. Now I won't do it at the moment because it's wired up. But when I actually transport it, then I pick out all the wires here. They go through that hole. I bind them in here behind the lining motor, and then I take this off and I transport it separately. And that allows me, seeing as the legs are not hooked up to it anymore, to flap the legs in, put the monitors back down, keyboard in, take the loudspeakers off, and the legs come in and the whole desk goes down. And then everything's okay. Here I get to all the wiring and stuff, and when I don't need it, I can just screw it all back in. So put that one up there, that one up there. And just by basically screwing these 2 knobs, it's holding the legs in place as well, so that's pretty much it. So Emily, if you would get in a little bit, then you can take up a few close-ups. You know, just go from both sides, get in some of the hardware. There are certain things which in all the builds, which I have to mention, is of course things which you don't see in this build. In some other builds you do see it. Thank you very much to Steinel for all their support with their hot air and their hot glue machines. We modders all know how it is without things like that. It just not work. You just can't work without things like that, just like cable ties and things like that. And thank you to Bosch as well for supporting me with tools. Thank you to Asus for the motherboard, like I said. Thank you very much to Thermaltake for the brilliant support this year. I wouldn't have been able to make this and the Piracy and Prophecy without them. Angelbird. We started some support this year and they've really supported me very well. It was very quick, very speedy, and this thing's got 4 Angelbird hard disks in it. So thank you very much for that, especially for the ones in the Piracy. I'm going to make some close-ups of that as well, which also won the German Championship this year, because you really see their Wings card, which is a slotting card. It goes right onto the motherboard and it's all lit up, and gorgeous stuff which we Casemodders like. So that was the Armageddon. Please follow me around it. When somebody's standing over there and I'm standing over there, then we usually communicate with WhatsApp because it's much too far away. So that was the Armageddon, the sum of all fears.